Welcome to the Via Tourism Podcast. I'm Kojo Bentum-Williams. The Via Tourism Podcast is dedicated to Africa's travel and tourism industry, where leaders from the private and public sectors get to talk to us. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and wherever you get your podcasts. Ahead of the second UN Tourism Conference on Brand Africa, scheduled to be held from 22nd to 24th July in Livingstone, Zambia, I caught up with the CEO of the Zambia Tourism Agency, Matamwandi, to give me a sneak peek of the gathering. He tells me the Tourism Board CEO's think tank and the launch of the UN Tourism Doing Business Invest in Zambia guidelines will be major highlights of the two-day event.
Okay, so welcome to the Via Tourism Podcast, and I'll be speaking to the CEO of the Zambia Tourism Agency, Mr. Matamwandi, a very good friend. So how is Zambia?
Well, fantastic, Kojo. The weather is perfect. Zambia feels like the whole country is air conditions, a bit warm, a bit cold, and enough sunshine. So probably the best weather you can think of. Thanks.
Okay, let's start with the weather. And for those who will be coming to Zambia, Zambia will be hosting the second UN Tourism Brand Africa Conference, and then also CAF. Just walk us through a bit. Tell us what the weather condition is now and what Zambia will be doing in on 22nd to 24th.
Yeah. Again, thanks. The weather for I think probably this is the best time to visit Zambia, in the sense that first of all, we are off the rain season. We have a typical African winter. Now, a typical African winter, if you're a tropical country, is an average of plus or minus 15, 16 degrees. For Africa, that's winter, because you still have sunshine, a bit of cold mornings and cold nights, where it will probably drop a bit to about 7, 8 degrees. But during the day, it will go up to sometimes it will even hit 20 degrees Celsius. You always have reasonable sunshine throughout, and it's reasonably dry because it's off the rain season. But the vegetation is also very green, because 2 months ago we are still into our rain season. It's also the peak for our tourism season. What that means now is you can access all the national parks. Our rivers are still running, so you can see the best of our waterfalls. And then there's quite some nice wildlife movement. They move from the greens on the bush side, and you see them either early morning or evening going to the riverside to go and drink water. It's a marvel to watch. So there's no better time to come to Zambia. You need to carry something a bit warmer because of the morning and evenings, but a nice just normal suit would still do, but obviously something a bit warmer in the evenings and the early morning. So basically, I think that's the weather like.
Great. Now let's get into the events. Now, this event's coming to Zambia. Give us a picture of the preparations and what delegates should expect from Zambia as a host.
So as a host, first of all, we are very excited to host. It's the second edition. So what that means is there was very little benchmarking with the previous host. They were doing it for the first time, but we picked a few lessons from them. In terms of preparedness, we can say we are at 70 to 80% ready. The venues are secured. It's in Livingstone. and we are using the Avan Hotel. Where the Avan Hotel is, we have 2 hotels within the same premises. The 5-star hotel on one side, where the VVIPs will be, the ministers and the likes, and some of the CEOs would like to book there, they can. And then we have a 3-star hotel on the other side, where the conference halls are. It's a walking distance. And then in terms of flights, you have options to fly into Livingstone direct through South Africa or through Kenya, but you can still fly into Lusaka a day before and then connect on our local flights. We have close to 4 flights in a day between Lusaka and Livingstone. That information is available. The programming is already done and approved by UNT. So the speakers are there. I think you'll see them online. Our VIP guests, everything is ready. We are expecting the UN team to join us a week before the event. Programming, security is done. Immigration is part of our organizing committee, just to ensure that our guests are cleared in the airports with different visas, but most of them from Africa, you don't need visas, but that information is available. But we ensure that we have people in the airports to meet every guest who come.
Yeah.
So,
no, that
so
I
that
can
they are
attest to that. I can attest to your seamless processes at your airport, and I think that both the immigration and yourselves and the ministry have done quite a very good job. So even when you have to pay, it's really very seamless. So that's you should take 5-star for that. But give us a sneak peek into the program itself. What's going to happen? Particularly from the CEO's think tank, as a CEO, being the host, as well. What was the thinking around this event?
So the thinking around the CEO's think tank, first of all, it's a closed session, so it's by invitation. So far, the numbers are looking great. We are in excess of 20 CEOs that have confirmed, and they keep on adding to the numbers. We are open for registration, I think up to the 18th, so we still have 1 more week to register more. We've also, just in case some CEOs might not have been reached out, I've reached out to 28 CEOs around Africa. We have even created a WhatsApp group. If anyone is missing, I'm sure they can check out and see, so that, because we want to go beyond the conference, CEOs to network, CEOs for national tourism organizations, we want to network beyond the conference. But the thinking really is for us to start looking at Africa as a destination. We are so blessed, if I may use that term as a Christian, that we have different tourism products across Africa. What you see in North Africa will be different from what you find in Southern Africa. Some countries have wildlife, some countries have waterfalls, some are strong on the traditional ceremonies. So the whole idea is to start looking at Africa as a destination, have linkages, and do joint marketing programs. So we are hoping that this conversation will be open among CEOs. That's why we made it a closed session. We can debate, we can argue, and diplomatically fight, but ultimately the whole idea, by the end of the session, we should be able to say, this is the Africa we want to market, and all of us can benefit. The catch thrust for this is that we are not going to compete anymore. We want to collaborate and bring the numbers. We are also hoping this will lead to us creating joint packages. If colleagues from Egypt bring in tourists from Europe, they see the pyramids in Egypt, they can come through to Rwanda, see the gorillas, and end up in Zambia and Zimbabwe to see the Victoria Falls and to see the big 5, the elephants, the rhinos. So that's the thinking. And we can keep the tourists in Africa longer, and we all benefit, increase the tourism receipts, but at the same time, we can also create jobs for our own people. So we've got interesting panel discussions. Of course, as host CEO, I'll start to just welcome everyone, but I also must prepare everyone that I would want to challenge everyone in that session, and then we can set the tone, and then after that we can have panel discussions and ultimately terminate into having some resolutions, which will be privileged the following day to present to our ministers. We have 26 ministers of tourism within Africa we have confirmed, and we'll be meeting them on the second day to present our resolution in style. So that's just to give you an idea of how exciting it's going to be, especially I look forward to see what the outcome is going to be.
Okay, and I mean, clearly it's going to be a working resolutions, and even if it means one or two will start with those initiatives, it means that there are some wins that we would expect from this very important gathering. But you would also realize that in the same program, obviously, there's a ministers' meeting, what we call the Commission for Africa, happening. But I'm not going to bring you into that. But to speak about the investment forum and the possible launch of your guidelines, tourism, business doing guidelines. Can you shed some light, a bit of a sneak peek into that?
Yeah, and again, the idea is just taking advantage. You can't speak tourism promotion without talking about investment promotion. Ultimately, you need to invest into your tourism product in order to attract tourists and make tourists access your product. The tourists need amenities. The tourists want safety, and all these things come with investment. So on the second day, obviously, we'll have an investment session. And again, a big thanks to UNWTO. Sorry, I still call you UNWTO.
Yeah, we're not UN tourism, so yes, you must recalibrate.
I need to, but I'm not as young, so it takes time for us old
It
people to
happens.
recalibrate.
There we go.
But thanks to UN Tourism that they've been gracious at no cost to produce the tourism investment guideline. I have looked at it. It's a masterpiece to showcase all the investment opportunities we have in Zambia in the tourism sector. If you allow me, just special thanks to SG. He's been very supportive with the team, and we are very excited. So we invite a number of dotted investors to that session, but also it's an opportunity for our colleagues from other countries to see how you can work together and how you can incorporate the investment side. Two of our ministers will be there, our Minister of Tourism and our Minister of Commerce and Industry. That's where our investment falls under. And they'll be joined with all the other ministers. That will be around 25, 26 of them. So yeah, so that's what we have on the investment side. We've also added some panel discussions where we are going to have prominent investors, investment facilitators who are just going to speak to how easy is it to invest in Africa and what opportunities exist. And these will be real case studies, so it will be quite exciting.
Great. But again, you see, the conversation also always had beings, or tourism is seen as leisure by and large, by the the big population, and the fact that there are always issues of leakage in terms of the measurement of its impact. So when we are talking tourism, talking investment and trade, we don't work in silos, but to be able to work hand in hand to see that tourism is an economic power.
In fact, Kojo, that addition is very interesting. I mean, I see a lot of conversations around the business tourism side as well. As you are aware, I think worldwide you notice that first of all, tourism is on record as the biggest employer, because it's one of those sectors where you can't easily replace human beings with technology, and that gets people off the streets. Secondly, you see that the MICE side of things generally MICE for the hotel business. Worldwide, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 65 to 70% of MICE hotel revenues come out of MICE. And there's huge investment that goes into putting these multi-million hotels. And if they have to succeed, they have to employ and be part of economics of any country. We, on the tourism promotion side, we need to bring in the numbers, and MICE comes with numbers. But also just the multiplier effect. Leisure tourism is big in Zambia because we are a nature-based tourism, and safari is big, but so is the MICE side. But interestingly, you also see that statistically, a MICE or a business tourist spends 18 to 20 times more than a leisure tourist. And that's the multiplier effect that we want to see on the economy. So these are some of the conversations we'll be having there and sharing notes and see how we can integrate investment and tourism promotion.
Finally, as you mentioned the multiplier effect. What are your expectations as a CEO of ZTA, and what does this mean to you, along with other events that you've hosted, looking at MICE and looking at your entire strategy?
I'm excited. We are just at the verge where we have a working group now working on a project to put up a national MICE strategy for the country, which we are hoping will terminate into maybe next year. Budget allowing, we can set up a MICE bureau, and we are the lead institution now. So for me, this is an opportunity for me to get policymakers within Zambia as CEO of the Zambia Tourism Agency to see how we can showcase what MICE means to this country, what MICE should be going into the future, and use it to gain support us to put up this national MICE strategy on one side, but also how we can link tourists that come for MICE and eventually decide to come with their families as leisure tourists. You can't separate the two. So the impact on Zambia will be great. I've also taken advantage to invite almost a cross-cutting representation of the tourism sector to the event. Tour operators, we are going to have airlines, we are going to have associations, so that they can also just be part of this conversation and we support each other. And I'm hoping that Livingstone as a city will not be the same, and similarly, the country will benefit and give us just fresh impetus to push the tourism sector. But before you even cut me off, one of the
How did you know I'm going to cut you off?
Just the last bit of it, we've also planned for social events. So everyone who is coming, whether you are from UNT or our delegates, you have an opportunity to visit the Victoria Falls at no fee at all. It's a walking distance from the venue of the conference. You can see the iconic wonder of the world called the Victoria Falls. We'll take some of them who love animals. We have a national park closer again within the short distance. And we'll also do a sunset boat cruise for everyone who is available. So we'll have a lot of fun on the last day of the summit.
Mr. Matongo, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kojo, and thanks for having this conversation with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.